All right, I'm gonna tune. If I can find a tuner. I have a million tuners and I can't find one. Here's one. All right, we got somebody. Who's here? Snagged you. Two. Got two people. Where are you? I don't know if this is a good time of day, but I have been MIA. I have been. Oh, we got 10 people. Wow, look at that. That's great. I have been MIA because I've been so busy with stuff. And let's see, I got to open up a session here. Why did that not open when I double clicked on that? Just so I have guitar sound. I did a new video today. It's been a while. Sorry about that. I did one on one of my favorite grooves. It's called the free range groove. And Maryland. Hey, I used to live in Potomac, Maryland. Where do you live? You know what? I need more light, don't I? Where's the light? Yeah. Maybe if I get rid of that light back. And then add this light. Is that better or worse? I think that's better. That light's kind of behind me a little bit, but a little more balanced. Grand Rapids. I've got family in Grand Rapids. All right, let's see. I think this is almost ready to go. Let's go. Oh my gosh, it's loading, taking forever to load. Long Island, awesome. Welcome. Yeah, so I did a video today. We'll probably post tonight or tomorrow. It's on the strumming series. And it's a groove that I call the free range groove. And it's kind of a cowboy-esque. Let me a little bit better so you can see the guitar. It's a Gibson Dove, by the way. Kind of like a hummingbird, but different. So it's basically just a kind of 16th note pattern. Kind of hard to teach that one. I was trying to teach it. I think you'll see in the video that I post that I'm kind of struggling to kind of communicate what I'm trying to get you to do. That's one of the tougher ones, but once you have it, you have it. So what's going on? Sorry, I've been so kind of missing in action. Oh, Scotland. See, now I knew if I logged in soon enough, it's probably about 9 p.m. in Scotland. I would love to go to Scotland. I do have some, let's see, Welsh. I think I'm a quarter Welsh and a quarter Irish and a quarter French and a quarter Bohemian, Gypsy, Slavic, like Czechoslovakian, but not really, so let's see. Okay, we got Arlington, Virginia. Okay, Arlington, that's near DC. Hey, Diane. Let's see. Gettysburg. Gettysburg is Virginia, I think, right? And then Fairland, Oklahoma. Okay. Oh, get out. You're the house musician at Old Anglers Inn in Potomac. How long has that place been there? Now, I lived in Potomac, Maryland in let's see, I was 5 or 6. So it would have been like 1966 to 1969. Free Falling. Let's see. I think Free Falling is. Didn't he capo? Did he capo on that one? Here, get my G7th capo here. If I'm not mistaken, I actually performed the Free Falling. Let's see. Let's see. Something like that. Everybody kind of, Tom plays a certain way. I think maybe he's capoed at the 3rd fret, and then Mike Campbell's like capoed at the first fret or something. They're capoed in two different positions, if I'm not mistaken. I saw that somewhere, but I can't really remember that. But yeah, so it's been a little bit crazy. But like I said, I did do a new video today, and I'll have it up tonight on what I call the free range groove. And the first time I ever heard that groove was on a commercial for Wells Fargo, which is a bank out here in the West. And you're welcome, Chris. And it was like, you know, it was like that kind of really, excuse me, wide open Western kind of vibe to it, like cowboys, horses. It even had that in the video. And then they used that jingle for years, and they would do it all sorts of different ways. But I think the original was acoustic guitar, and I had just gotten this guitar. This was my first acoustic I got in 1990, and I'd been playing guitar. By then, I'd been playing guitar for 21 years before I got my first steel string acoustic. I had a nylon. I studied nylon in college, classical guitar in college, so I had a nylon. But the steel string thing, I just was like, oh, that's a cowboy guitar. So I never really got into it. And then the funny thing is like within 3 or 4 years, almost all my session work was acoustic guitar. I just got a lot of calls for acoustic guitars. So it was a good thing I got one, but and then so I have a few acoustic guitars. Each one is so distinct. They all sound so different. Pinball Wizard, you know what? That's exactly right. You know what? I should have mentioned that in the video. Dang it, Linda. Where was my brain? But that's exactly the groove. And I do it slower so you can kind of get the hang of it. I also I did it just now, but I don't know if Pete Townsend did it where he did the triplet. So you're doing, do that little extra da-da-da-da, get into it. The problem with doing that is it's the last eighth note of the bar. And when you do a triplet, starting on a downstroke on the last two eighth notes, when you get to that next bar, you're actually starting the bar with an upstroke. So if I do that, it sometimes throws me off. Like I'll be off a beat because I'm like, oh, dang it. Now I'm you can't fix that. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll start that triplet on the downbeat of 4. And then that way there's 6 of them, and that is an even number, and that allows it to be land on the down. So like, for example, let's see if I can do it. Nope, that wasn't right. That's it. Nope, that was. I can't. That's weird. Now I can't do it. Maybe I was doing 30-second notes. Let me see. No, I'm ending up on an upstroke. So if I'm ending up on an upstroke, I'm definitely doing triplets. So I don't know. I got to practice that. House of the Rising Sun by the Animals. Yeah, there's a million videos out on how to play that. Where's Windsor? Is that up north? I've kind of lived all over the place, but once I moved to Indianapolis when I was in 5th grade, that's where I stayed till I moved to California. I mean, I've been in California most of my life. It's weird when you finally move to the place where you're intended to be. You don't even realize when you've lived there half of your life. It kind of catches up on you. But I don't know if you've checked it out yet. The new Bieber record is out, and I wrote and played guitar on a song called ETA, which is like track 12, I think. And they just dropped a video for it, which is cool. Yep, that's what I kind of figured in Fire Country. Nice. They did a little video for it, and then you can listen to it on YouTube. You can find it on Spotify. You can find it on Apple Music, any of those platforms. But basically, yeah, it's mostly just me and Justin. And I found the files that I sent in because a lot of times what I'm doing with the team is I'm coming up with guitar part that I just think is cool. And I'll sit around and I'm generally most of the day writing music if I'm not working for somebody. If I'm working for a composer on a game or a TV show or a movie, games and movies are mostly what I do when I'm working for other people. If I'm not doing that, then I will be writing because I have places that I can send my music to if I write something. Like, for example, if I wrote something that was similar to Tom Petty, I wouldn't copy anything. But if I did something that was Tom Petty-esque, I would send that to one of the TV shows production companies that I write for, and they would potentially use that. And so anything that sounds backwards in time before now, that's the stuff that I send to the TV shows. And again, this is work I'm doing when I'm not when someone's not paying me to pick up the guitar. So I try to keep working every day, whether I have work or not. That's kind of part of the secret. And with music royalties, with residual income, it's all a matter of kind of keeping the pipeline full. So if you stop writing, if I stopped writing and stopped submitting music, then eventually that revenue would start to slow down and dwindle down. Probably never to zero at this point, because I have so much music out there making me money. But so it kind of ends up being like a job that you're getting paid for, kind of like a 9 to 5, but it's just the paychecks don't come for 9 to 18 months. So you really do have to, you do really have to be prepared, to wait in those situations. However, if I write something that's very unique or different, or if I feel like doing something unique and different, that will go to one of the pop producers. I will send it to one of the pop producers that I'm working for. And the Justin Bieber one, I found the track that I'd sent that. And so they put me down as producer, which is really cool. And then this other producer named Philip Boudreau had took my guitars and then kind of cut them up and edited them into a more cohesive performance for the song ETA. I basically I just found the file. Like I said, I found the file and it was 4 minutes and 54 seconds long. So I don't know if you've heard the song yet, but let's see. No, I'm just vibing on that. And so what I did was I have a beat playing underneath, kind of a hip hop beat playing under that. That's what I'm grooving to. Find a good tempo where it feels good. I play it a lot and I'm jamming on it. And then I finally hit record and I start, actually, I'll hit record it from the get go, just in case I do something that's really, really cool. I'm like, oh, crud, what was that? I can't remember. I like that lick. There were some other licks. Like I did that was really cool. I probably will do a video, how-to video. It's a little tough because, like I said, my version is 5 minutes long, and the song ended up being 3 minutes long with very few repeats. I think there's only a couple times in the song where he duplicates. I mean, I'm doing some of those I'm doing multiple times. I love the ones like, I'm doing that kind of stuff. Did that I think once. I'm just playing off of that kind of that E minor key, but with a B7 in there. B7 to kind of a D sharp diminished chord. So like I said, at some point I'll probably do a how-to video on that. I've already gotten several requests for that. I get a lot of requests for the other one, which didn't get on the record, but it was called Don't Look Back, or what is it? Don't something far. I can't remember now. But I Knew It As Always. And in fact, it's in the documentary, one of the episodes. I think it's in the second episode of the YouTube documentary on Justin Bieber. and you can see him kind of vibing in the studio to that. And that's that song. That one didn't make the record. Who knows? It may come out still at this point, but I want to, before it's tough to teach a lesson on something that hasn't been released yet because I just don't want to get in trouble for that. That was funny because last time I did a live stream, is he here? I don't see him here. But the Bieber fan that knows more about all that stuff than I even come close to knowing, he's the one that tells me, oh, this one leaked and that one leaked, and I'm like, oh, dang it, but I was playing it. I was playing one of the leaked versions on YouTube through the speakers while I was doing the live stream. And then like 3 or 4 weeks later, I got a takedown notice from YouTube they said that there was copyrighted material in there. And again, that's a leaked song. And I was kind of glad they did that because that tells me that Universal Music Group is still going after those illegal uploads, meaning that they may still release the song at some point, which would be really cool because it's a great song. It's a really, really, Star wrote the top line on that, and she's a really good writer. And it's just some of the pacing of some of the lyrics on that are really, really cool. Something that she really excels at. I think she wrote Fake Love for Drake, and she was one of the writers on Havana for Camila Cabello. So she's a really talented young writer, and she did that one. The top line on that. The top line, just for you, sorry, I throw out these terms, and I know sometimes you don't know what I'm talking about. Top line is lyrics and melody. So I'm not a top line writer anymore. When I had bands, I wrote everything, so I had to write the top line, and I actually really loved it. I loved writing lyrics, and my lyrics I crafted them. I have some lyrics of songs that I painted myself into corners writing because I'm like, oh, I want the rhyme to happen here, and then it's just like you just paint yourself in a corner, and you got to replicate that for every verse. So I definitely could write top lines, but my melodic top lines, because I'm 58, I'm kind of more of a child of the 60s, 70s, 80s than anything. My top lines are going to sound more reminiscent of that, and I would have a very difficult time writing like an Ed Sheeran type melody, just because that's not what I grew up listening to. And so I'm when I was writing 100% of the songs, I had this much success. I had no success at all. Ever since I started collaborating, that's when I did a video on my playlist. It's the business of making music. It's called Collaborate, Collaborate, Collaborate. And the first time I really did a collaboration was for a movie called, dang it, what was it called? I can never think of it. Supercross. It was called Supercross. I don't know if you saw it. It actually came out in theaters. It was a feature release. It came out 2,000 theaters, but lasted about a week. Didn't do very well. I forget who the main actors were, but you can look it up. It's probably, you can watch. I get revenue from that song still. That was, I think, 2005. I still get a few bucks every quarter from that movie, usually from video on demand type stuff. So what happened was, and I talk about this in the video, but it's interesting. In a movie, there's basically 3 types of music. There's the score, which is like what John Williams would do. There's music that's called source, which is like if you go into a nightclub and there's music playing, that's called source music. So that usually, like if John Williams wouldn't compose that. That would be some other thing. They might buy a known song, or they might have someone. I've done source music now for like where country, like somebody's driving their truck and their pickup truck, and they're listening to country radio station. And I did something that was like, they didn't want vocals because there was dialogue happening. Oftentimes source music won't have vocals on it because there's dialogue happening, and you would have to duck the source music so low to be able to hear the dialogue. So they'll want something that's more. I don't know it was just some kind of fun, like Chet Atkinsy kind of Travis pattern kind of vibe that I did for that And so every time that show, every time, and that's called a background instrumental. And every time that show airs, or if somebody watched it, then I would make a fraction of a penny. And again, those pennies all add up. That's kind of part of the business. But that's score and then source. And then the third one is needle drops. And needle drops are, I think there's another term for it, but I can't think of it offhand. But needle drops are when they like Adam Sandler loves to put like 80s, 70s, and 80s rock tunes. If there's a Queen song and like in not Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure. What's the movie that has music? Yeah, Jasper Randall. Yeah, you found it. Okay, and I'm getting to that story. So, but anyway, this movie had a very low budget. Especially for the music. Unfortunately, the music is the last thing done. It's really interesting, but the music is usually the last thing done. It should be about 10% of the budget, but because by the time they get around to doing the score, they've got to have the final edit of the movie so that the composer can do his work and score to picture. And that's usually what they're doing, is they're scoring the music to the picture. Yep, that's right. That's me. And so they scored a picture, and that has to happen at the end. Well, at the end of all that, making a movie, they're out of money. So the poor composers, unless they have a contract or something like that states they're going to make X amount. So my friend Jasper, who was the composer, I played all the guitars on it, baritone guitar, everything starts with baritone guitar. And it was kind of a rock score, which wasn't his forte. So he knew that he needed to bring me in. And he spent half of his budget on me and half of his budget on the composer. I mean, on the mixer to mix it and try to make it sound really good. And Jasper's a really good composer, but what he does now is mainly he contracts vocals for major pictures and TV shows. So you'll see his name if you look him up, Jasper Randall. You'll see him up on almost every major movie that's out right now. He's contracted the singers. It's a pretty big deal here in this town. He's a good guy to know. So we do this song. Well, so what happened was in the movie, they had 20 needle drops. Like I had a ton of needle drops, and they do not pay. They license them, and they say, oh, here's how much we're going to pay. But they won't pay that money until the very, very last minute, because they don't know if the movie's going to get finished. And they're not obligated to pay for the needle drops until the very end. And that's licensed music. Same thing with source. Source music would be licensed as well. They don't usually hire a composer to contract that. They just say, hey, we need a country tune, and you send it in. So that's so what happened was, one of the bands in that movie, that Supercross, the band got signed, and the record label wanted $10,000 for the license, and the studio was like, that's more than we paid for this whole score. So they said, forget it, we'll take your song out of the movie. And they asked Jasper if he would write a song to replace it. And he said, well, I don't know if I can, but maybe Tom and I can. So I went over to Jasper's house one morning, and we had pretty much finished the score. And we wrote that song in the morning. Between the two of us, it was kind of this, I don't even know if you can hear it underneath the roar of motorcycles. I actually saw the movie twice and forgot to even listen for it, and never noticed it coming on. And originally I was singing it. I'm not a great singer, particularly not in the studio. Live doing worship, I can kind of get away with it. But I actually sang it, and it was kind of like, I tried to sing it like this disenfranchised something, I was just like, kind of like, it was kind of a metal. I was kind of going for a Nine Inch Nails vibe, and Jasper did some really cool strings on it, and it sounded really, really. I think I have a mix of it somewhere. Oh my gosh, I don't know. But anyway, Jasper replaced my vocals, and I didn't know, because he sang it better than I did, but like I did, and he was a very good singer. And he now we have to hear you sing. No, this isn't going to be me singing. But let's see. And the song's called "Leave Me Alone." You would see it in the credits, because I make sure I keep my IMDb pretty up to date. Songs. This I can play, because this I own. So Leave Me Alone. Yeah. Yeah, we had synths on it. Forgot I haven't listened. I mean, keep in mind this is 2005, so this might have been almost hip then. So, and now we should release this. We should come up with one of our fake band names. So we distorted the vocal and put it through a radio filter. So it's actually kind of cool. I like. We had fun doing it. We did it in one morning. We got it done. He sent it to his friend to mix. I'm sure that's not his mix. He sent it to his friend to mix. We did it in the morning, probably in 3 hours. We had the whole song done from scratch. I mean, I didn't even have an idea when I walked in the door. I kind of like to do it that way. Yeah, so rebellious. Leave me alone. It's like a teenage kind of angst. I mean, you could totally, I don't know. But it fit with all the other like 19 other needle drops in the movie. And like I said, I didn't even hear it when I saw the movie the first 2 times. I didn't even hear it in there. It just is so buried. The score that we played, everything is so buried under motorcycles revving, because that's pretty much what the movie's about. That you really didn't hear. You do all this work and when you redo something. Oh well, that note wasn't right, or I was late, or there was a squeak on my string. You do all this like attention to detail kind of stuff on a movie, and then all of a sudden you just don't hear any of it because of it's called Foley, right? Foley, Foley, is the sound the sound department that makes all the noises and things like that. The motorcycle wasn't probably actually on tape. It was probably sounds that they recorded, for that movie, but not at that moment. So anyway, it's pretty funny. Yeah, totally was going for the 9 Inch Nails thing, which is, one of the best bands. That's one of the best band names. If you watched my video on, are there any good band names left? That was one that I said, that's actually a really good band name. It sounds like what it is, So anyway, that was my first foray into collaboration, and I'll be darned if that I didn't get a check for like $300 for that, and then the next quarter I got another check. It was like $800, and the next quarter it was like $1,200. It actually I was like, oh wow, that was I think from that day, I think I've made maybe $10,000 off that song of all told, and I was 50%. I own the writers and the publishing. See, when you score a movie, you give up your publishing. Okay, the production company, whoever hires you, whoever spends all the money, they're going to get your publishing. But that's only 50% of the back end. The other 50% of the back end is the writer's share. So if you're writing a movie, you're the writer. I mean, if you're writing a score, you're the writer. So you would get that share. Now maybe John Williams gets both. I don't know. I'm sure Spielberg has enough money. So it's probably not a problem to do that. But if you asked me how I played Leave Me Alone, I couldn't tell you. But maybe Jasper and I should release it. I think it would be pretty funny. I'm going to have to talk to him about that. I was just talking to him yesterday, so I'm going to have to remind him about it. And so, so that was my first foray into collaboration. And it was that when I started to see some actual money for it, that's when I said, you know what? Let me let other people concentrate on doing what they do best, and I'll try to concentrate on what I do best. And so I play guitar, I come up with cool ideas. That's kind of my, what I try to do is come up with some good foundation that somebody can write over. And so that's kind of what we've been doing. So T-Mob, T-Mob, like short for T-Mobile. Go to rehearsal. And Chris, that was Was it you that said you were? Um, no, who was it that? Oh, Jeffrey. Are you still there, Jeffrey? Um, that's crazy. Did you answer my question about Old Anglers Inn? Has that been around forever? I mean, like I said, I was just a kid when I lived in Potomac, Maryland, but we would go out. I'm trying to think of some of the restaurants. Like when you're 7, 8, you don't really know the names of places you're going to. Um, so anyway, let's see what are some videos you guys would like me to do. The one that I did today that I'm going to post either tonight or tomorrow. I've got to create some images and things like that. I'm editing. I'm not really. I don't. You know me. I don't really edit the videos. It might as well be a live stream because I really don't want the process to take too long. I mean, if I do a 10-minute video, it takes me about 10 minutes to film it, and then I won't cut out the and all the uhs and the brain farts when I'm standing there going, or say, I might do that if I sit there and go. I may cut that out, but I don't like choppy videos, and so I wanted my videos to kind of feel like you're just sitting there with me and we're just having a conversation. That's kind of what I try to do. Oh, triads. Okay. Here's some ETA. Yeah, I was just doing it. Pretty cool, huh? I love that. I actually really like that group. I had forgotten about that. I even sent that one into them because it was one of dozens that I sent in to the team. And what's crazy, when I was watching the documentary at one point, on YouTube they have a documentary series it's called Seasons, and I think the first 8 episodes are free now. You can watch the first 8 episodes. You can kind of get an insight into the team and everything. And you hear a couple of my songs in there. They had to license those. See, that's part. In fact, I've got to create an invoice for that today and send it on. But because they're making a movie, they're doing a documentary. Whenever you use music, you have to license it. So you have to pay the writers. That's the let's see. That's the dang it. I get them confused. Master license is the master role. So they had to license the master from the label, and they licensed the sync from the writers and publishers. And the sync, so it's 50-50. So it wasn't a lot of money. Because it was kind of in-house thing, documentary on YouTube. It's not as much. The most I've ever gotten on a license, and in fact, someone was supposed to call me today about that side of the business. I think the most I've ever gotten for a license for a song that I've written was maybe 2,500. I mean, it could really get up there. Like if you wanted to license Purple Haze, it's going to cost you $150,000, $200,000 to license it, maybe more. But between the mechanical, between the sync license, which goes to the writers, which is in that case would be the Jimi Hendrix estate, and the master, which would be the label or whoever owns the master, that would be 50-50. It's always a 50-50 thing. So, but generally, I've done. In fact, on that "Leave Me Alone," they were out of money at that point. So Jasper and I did they still money has to change hands, but we did a license for $1. We licensed that "Leave Me Alone" song for $1. But I knew that there was going to be back end. I knew that the movie was going to air on cable and things like that. And like I said, that morning, ultimately, since 2005, in 15 years, has paid about $10,000 total, probably. Maybe not quite that much. It would be a real pain to go back and add it all up. I have no idea. But I typical license for some things, $500, $1,000, depends. If it's a major song on a major record, and I don't really. ETA is on a major record, but it's not a hit. Let's say ETA became a smash, and somebody wanted to put it in their commercial, or they wanted to put it in a TV show or a movie, then they're going to have to license that, and the payment for that's going to be quite large. It could be, it could be $100,000 to license a song like that if it's a known song. I think the record, I always thought it was like in $1 million or something like that, but it's different for commercials. I heard, this is interesting, inside baseball kind of stuff. Hey, Kathy, long time no see. Yeah, right. It's very funky. This the bass part. Phil on the ETA. Phil did some really good stuff on it. Everything that's not guitar and Justin is Phil, and Phil did all that, and he edited my guitars so that they were more cohesive and made more like verse chorus kind of sense. Um, but so what was I talking about? I forgot. I'm gonna take a drink right now. I need more caffeine. Um, so um, licensing music. Um, yeah, if it's a major record, it's going to cost money. Oh, I know what I was going to say. So apparently, at some point, this is a story I heard that Nike wanted to use Wonderwall from Oasis how does that go? It's got that. That's another groove I'm going to do. I'm going to do what I call my hip hop groove. I'm going to do a lesson on that too. That one's fun. It's kind of like this. I don't know why I call it the hip hop groove. I've done it forever. I've done that groove forever. But so Nike wanted to use Wonderwall for a commercial, and they reached out, emailed the people, and they said, "Yeah, we want $1.25 million." And Nike said, "Never mind." And so they hired somebody to write a song that wasn't Wonderwall, wasn't the same key, it wasn't the same tempo, but it might have been in the spirit of same instrumentation, things like that. And had Nike not reached out with emails to Oasis or to the management of Oasis, they never would have noticed that there was a song out there that kind of was reminiscent of Wonderwall. But they did because there was already a paper trail. So if you're a major corporation, Kathy, you're a major corporation. If you're going to license that song but you don't think you can afford it, then and you're going to don't email them. Go ahead and just pay someone to do uh, a I don't want to say sound alike because I never do sound alikes. I've played on sound alikes, and the funny thing is, one of the composers I played on, he did a lot of infomercials. It's funny. I actually did a lot of playing on infomercials, and boy, he would send me the original, and then his version, it was almost the same song. I'm like, "God, you're gonna get in trouble." And he goes, "Yeah, I know." He goes, my producer makes me get $1 million umbrella policy in case they get sued. I'm like, he makes you pay for that? He goes, "Yeah." He goes, so the commercial producer is married to that song so much that you've got to have that song that you can't afford it. You pay someone to copy it, but you're not willing to pay for the umbrella license or the umbrella insurance yourself. That's just crazy. So yeah, Oasis hip hop, exactly. What is the Oasis? Gosh, I see. I can't pull up. See now. Oh, I was in. The thing was when on my last live stream, I played a snippet of. Not you're gonna go back. That was a 3-hour live stream. I doubt I'll do a 3-hour live stream today. But in the middle of that live stream, I played that leaked song by Justin, and YouTube gave me a takedown notice like 3 or 4 weeks later, or not a takedown notice. They muted the video, they turned off monetization, and they sent me an email, and they sent it to my Gmail account, which I don't go to every day. So it was like a couple weeks later that I actually saw it. And it was like, "Oh, this is a legitimate YouTube email. Okay, I better read this." And sure enough, I hadn't even noticed that they had muted it and turned off monetization. And so I go into YouTube Studio, which is great, application. It's really easy to edit videos and things like that in there. And they had it set up so that all I had to do was click a button, and they would cut out the offending portion of that video, which was really probably less than 2 minutes of the video. And I don't think it included me playing it because that wasn't what was. It was a bot, I'm sure, that actually caught the problem. But like I said before, I was thrilled that Universal Music Group is making them take that song down. every time I'm like, oh, let's listen to the song, I can't find it anymore, and then it shows up again. Um, and and so I was actually glad that they made me take that down, because what it tells me is that Universal Music Group is still protecting that song that was, a song that I had writer's share on, and I was very excited. Actually, they gave me a really good percentage of that song. I was really excited for that to come out, and it didn't make the record. It may make some future record. It's, like I said, it's a really good song. Justin did a great job on it. But I was really glad that they did make me take it down. So, but the cool thing is that YouTube set it up so they would just cut those 2 minutes out of the video, and the video's back up, monetized. It's unmuted, and so it worked out. Now I may have a strike against me now because of that, which is kind of weird because it's actually a song that I wrote. So I feel like that's a little weird. I had another takedown notice, which really that one really bothered me. This one made me happy, actually. So, but the other one was, those, if the bluegrass jams tracks. So I did one of those at 100 BPM. And what I do is what I did was I played like this guitar. I played that maybe 8 times. And then I looped that so that 8 times is probably 2 minutes. And I may do loop that for like 6 or 4 more times or 5 times. So it gets it over 10 minutes, 11 minutes of length for jamming, for practicing your bluegrass playing. Then I took a different guitar, play it 6 times, maybe that progression, maybe 6 times, and loop that instead of 4 times. I do it maybe 6 times, and so they end up at the same point. But basically, so that one's in one ear, one's in the other ear, or one speaker in the other speaker, and that way the two never really line up the same way twice. So that does sound like it doesn't end up sounding like a loop, which it kind of is. And the drums are a loop, and then the bass I'm playing on my keyboard using like an upright bass sound, and that's how I create those. And it's really, really easy to create them. And the drums and the bass I can just save. Well, so anyway, I had that one at 100. I'm always looking for ideas for videos, and I'm always trying to give you guys value for something that you can use. And I noticed that stupid video, the 100 BPM one, it's one of my top videos. I'm like, where is this? Let's see. Let me go here. I forget how much. Is it 200,000 spins or something like that? Where is that? Sorry. And so if I go to my videos and sort by, I just love YouTube Studio. You can do so much. Okay. Let's see. Blah, 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 blah. It's interesting, the top videos. The Bluegrass Jam, it has 60, almost 70,000 views. And it got 92% likes. I never understood why you downvote a jam track, but I'm just doing you a service. And the reason I make them like 10, 11, 12 minutes long is because I'm just remembering when I was a kid and I would create them myself. I needed to practice something, and I would use my cassette deck to create a jam track. And so I would do this, and I'd get bored after about a minute, and I stopped doing it. And then so I was doing more rewinding of cassette tapes than I was actually practicing my soloing. So in the spirit of not having you rewind YouTube, so you have to do it again, I make those like 10 minutes long. Okay, so that one has like 70,000 views. I'm like, well, I should do another one of those. I'll just do one that's 120 beats per minute. So I did it, same kind of thing. I did 2 different guitars. One I did maybe 5, 6 times to the loop, and another one I did 7, 8 times to the loop. So they wouldn't ever line up, and I put one in one speaker, one in the other, and it's like that. And immediately the video got taken down. It got muted and unmonetized because they said I was copying these 2 songs. One was from the 50s and one was from the 60s, I think. It was really bizarre. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. If those 2 songs are triggering a copyright infringement on me, why aren't they doing a copyright infringement on each other? So I couldn't figure out how two songs could accuse me of copyright infringement, and it's really just their bots that are doing this. Like, and those two songs were legitimate record releases. They were old songs, and the funny thing about it is whoever uploaded them didn't own them. They just uploaded. You know, people upload songs all the time, which I hate when they do that. I'd always like if I want to listen to some Shuggie Otis. If you don't know who Shuggie Otis is, if you're into funk and soul, man, Shuggie is the bomb. He is the coolest. It's the coolest music. He wrote this. He had one hit, and it was "Strawberry Letter 22." But it wasn't. He didn't record. I mean, he recorded it, but it wasn't his version that was famous. It was Brothers Johnson, and this was in the '70s. I think 1978, if I'm not mistaken. But you know, I just pulled up a Shuggie Otis song, and it had like 10 million views. And the person that uploaded it wasn't Shuggie Otis. And I'm like, well, that stinks. This random person who uploaded some poor guy's, track who's just never, ever really made it, is making a ton of money off of this upload. And so I was, that kind of stuff kind of bothers me. But anyway, so whenever I link to songs, like if I have a link to a song in my information window, I usually try to find, even the Beatles. I mean, if the Beatles have a version up, I know they got enough money, but I usually try to put a link that goes to the Beatles YouTube channel, not some random person who just happened to upload the song. The thing, I don't know why those don't get takedowns, but they don't. So many of them stay up there. Eventually somebody, they may get taken down. But that was a weird thing. So I'm doing this bluegrass thing, and 120, and it triggers a takedown. And I'm like, so I contest it. I fill out the form and everything and say, no, literally recorded this that day. And so I think if I do another one, because I'm going to do more of these, I probably do like 140, maybe 160, maybe 180, like get really fast. So if you really want to work on your bluegrass up-tempo stuff. I mean, bluegrass songs could be 240, 260, 280, can really get up there. And I'm not a bluegrass player, but it is fun to kind of jam around on it. And I just like providing these jam tracks. But I may change the progression a little bit, because the progression is what I would call kind of a stereotypical bluegrass progression. 1, 4, 1, 5. 1, 4, 1, 5. Right? Yeah. Oh, need a special mando pick? I do have I have a special mando pick. There's my mandolin pick right there. That's a Wiegand pick, and it does sound really good. And I'll tell you, my mandolin's hanging in the bathroom over there. So I'm not going to go to my bathroom's just right around down that hallway, but I'm not going to leave my chair here and go down the hallway and get my mandolin so I can show you. But one of the tricks that mandolin players do is I find that they turn the pick at like a 45-degree angle to get a round sound. It really helps to prevent that da-da, because you're hitting two strings on a mandolin. That da-da, da-da, da-da sound where you hit two strings. If you turn the pick sideways, see, my 12 string is gone. But if you turn the pick sideways, it gets a much more round sound, and it gets rid of that double little hit that you get. So I play guitar with it, but it's the cool thing about it too is it's symmetrical, so it's hard to see against my black shirt though. So you got three sides of the same basically. And Wiegand picks are great. You can look them up. You have to order them from him, and he's in like I think he's in France or Holland. They're not cheap. This is the bluegrass pick that I use, and that one really sounds good. I really love it. I started out with the Django picks. I really, really, really like the Django picks. And that was the first one I bought from him. It's very thick. It's like 3.5 millimeters thick. I like it on acoustic guitar. There's a certain immediacy and roundness to it. And clicking this too, if I get. Netherlands. So yeah, Holland. Oh, sorry, Netherlands. I always say Holland. But that's where I think he is. Is that? Did you just look him up, Emo? Did you just look him up? I think you can find them on eBay. So if you just go to eBay, you can buy them that way. And I think you can get a pack of 3 of these for $15 or so. So they're not ridiculously expensive. I mean, they're not like this thing. This is the blue chip pick. I think these are $45 for these. Can you believe that? Look at that. It's $45 for the blue chip pick, and they are actually, and it's like some weird composite thing. I have to admit, though, it is a good sounding pick. It's almost an invisible sounding pick. I don't know how they do it. It's not much different. It's a little thinner than my old go-to, which was the Dunlop. Let's see if I have one you can actually see. The Dunlop Durlin. Are these Durlin? I think, yeah, these are Durlin with a turtle on them. Purple pick, 1.5. So it's pretty thick. And you wouldn't be able to hear the subtle nuances over the live stream, I don't think. But there is a pretty good difference. Now, the ones that I'm using now mostly a lot are the gravity picks, because they have this, I get the ones with the rough edges, the beveled kind of rough edges, because I like the sound of hearing that scratchiness on the pick. It's also like these West the West Germany ones that the Edge uses. He will use the fat side of the pick and scratch the strings with the bumps on it. This has a lot of little bumps on it, and that's how he gets that, And the crazy thing about that was I thought it was some kind of distortion unit that was making the string distort at the moment of attack. And so I was trying to Delrin. Oh yeah, see that I always say. What did I say? Bimo's here to correct me. Thank you, Bimo. Great, yeah. So but it wasn't a distortion thing. He was actually playing really clean. It was the pick that was making that distorted sound. So it's crazy. And now I'm really into that. Like when I'm soloing, like if I'm doing like a blues thing or something, I will often grab this pick because I want that. I will want that sound, that scratchiness that's on there. So let's see. Did I miss any questions? Let's see. Yeah, they won't take this video down, I hope. Right? I'm playing like the intro to ETA, and they take down my video. Let's see. You enjoy my monologues, especially you're playing. My favorite pick is a Dunlop 96. Yep, Delrin. I said Durlin. Delrin. Why do I not? I always say Durlin. Get that wrong every time. And so I've got a whole thing of picks. Like this thing is just all different picks, and I even use bottle cap as a pick. I actually really like that. In fact, I got to find more like this. I can't even remember what this is from. It's got like a star inside. This one is my favorite sounding bottle cap. I'll show you that one in a second here. Thumb picks, which are great. Even more, another Wiegand pick that's super, super fat. This thing is, I think, called a Fat Boy, in fact. Also felt picks, which is kind of the opposite. A felt pick has a kind of a cool sound. And then coins, different coins. Let's see. I've got actually somebody gave me this, which is a quarter cut into a pick. Don't know if that's a federal offense or not, but this is actual quarter. And the cool thing was they used the quarter for Tennessee. So dropped it. But it's got guitars on the back. So that's kind of cool. Slugs. Rubber slugs. They all have a distinct tone. And when you're doing soundtracks or trying to come up, like playing a ukulele, I've done that a lot of times. I did. I may actually have a credit for Bottle Cap Banjo. Yeah, felt picks are great for bass. A lot of time back in the '60s, a lot of bass players used felt picks, and they're generally thought of as being for ukulele, which I do use a felt pick for ukulele. But I usually like to use my fingers if I'm trying to do some kind of legitimate ukulele thing. But if I'm picking something, a melody on a ukulele, I might use a felt pick. The other one I got the other day, I ordered some rubber picks that look like regular guitar picks, but they're rubber. The reason was because I wanted something for bass. I was getting blisters on my fingers because I was doing so much bass playing in this one movie that I was like, I should have a pick that sounds like my fingers. But here's a bottle cap. Again, I don't know what it is. It has a star inside it. It may be from a Pepsi, but it doesn't say anything on it. Isn't that crazy? And then so like the metal slug kind of sounds like a normal pick, and then you get the rubber slug, almost the same but softer, which makes sense. And if you go with a really, really, really like paper thin pick, I've got what is let's see, do I have? Well, I don't have the white ones, but this is a gray. This is a Dunlop nylon. This is a 60 millimeter. Yeah, I have a somewhere. I have a sixpence, which is what here. There's a sixpence. This is what I was in England recently, and we picked up a few. My son and I picked up a few of these because this is what Brian May uses, and it really does. When you're playing electric, it's hard to tell on this, but when you're playing like a hard rock electric, a metal pick like this definitely you can hear that. And I was doing I was playing on a cartoon for a composer, and we were doing kind of a Queen send up kind of vibe on it, and I pulled up my Queen sound, my Brian May tone on my rig, and I had this pick with me. I knew in advance. I don't normally take this with me. I wouldn't normally take a sixpence with me. It wasn't just sitting in my pocket. But I knew we were going to do something like that in advance, so I brought the pick, and sure enough, I used it, and it really did kind of sell the tone. I mean, the tone in my rig was pretty good. It was pretty close to that Brian May, kind of a gainy, like a overdriven AC 30 in a closet sound, kind of is what a lot of that was, and that's kind of what my rig was emulating. And then to play that with that sixpence really kind of made it even more legit than it was. So that's right. A dime, a US dime would be the same. I was just going for like the legitimate hardcore, serious copy. And this is a 1955. This may be silver, actually. I know it wasn't cheap. It wasn't 6 pennies for it. So let's see. Oh, see you, BMO. Thanks for correcting me. Got to bounce. I like Dunlop nylon gray. Yep. The dark gray. And there's so many. They're all gray. They got this one here. This is the 88, and then there's I think a 96. Oh, here's the rubber pick. This is really cool. So just go to Amazon, and I can even put a link down there. This says it says wedgie. It says wedgie on it, 3.1 millimeter. Yeah, 3.1 millimeter on there, and it's like I said, very soft tone, but I was using it on bass because my hand was getting tired playing bass. Let's see, grab that, put that back up there. Let's see, there's a tone up. I don't know if I have a tone up. Let's see. Okay, I see you there. Why do I not hear you? Oh, maybe it's because you guys still hear me, right? Um, I'm not sure why I'm not hearing that. It should be. So I guarantee it's user error somewhere. Let me see what this track actually plays. Yeah, so that plays. Oh, maybe because yeah. Oh, yeah. Not exactly the sound I wanted to have up. Something. Oh, maybe I got a chord that's bad. That's probably what I did. I don't know. Or weird. Not very loud. I think I got a bad chord somewhere. Anyway, I can play acoustic. I was just doing some work on some of that TV music I was telling you about earlier. Let's see. Oh, hey, Lewis, you're back. Yes, I am still on the hunt for fretless guitar. In fact, I've got an extra ukulele I want to take the frets out of to have fretless ukulele. Actually, they have those fretless bass ukuleles. You've seen those, but I do want to do some uh, a couple fretless guitars. I've actually asked my contact over at Sweetwater to see if he can contact some of the manufacturers and see if they can make me a video. I mean, make me a fretless classical guitar. Steel string guitar, I wouldn't want because I think it would just cut my fingers up. But nylon, I think would work because you're sliding. What's my favorite overdrive pedal? I don't think it's an overdrive pedal, but it's a pedal I use all the time, and that's the Sparkle Drive. I almost always have that on. I use kind of the cleaner setting on it, but I really like the Sparkle Drive. Other than that, what are some overdrive? I'm not. The DS1 isn't bad. I used to like the full drive, this thing, but for Strats, I think this is more for a Les Paul. Humbuckers, for single coils, it doesn't sound that good. I don't know. I'm just, I do so much stuff now in the box. And ETA, you were asking about ETA, somebody. That was direct. That was probably this Squire, one of my Squires direct. I can't, for some reason, I'm not getting a sound out. Somewhere. Hold on. I'm going to disappear for a second. Something is not. Something is not happening. Something's not right in the system. I think I've got a ghost in the machine. So I'm going to quit this. Hopefully that won't jack us up. Let me know if you can't hear me anymore. Yeah, I need to get a fretless bass. That's kind of one of my next things I'm going to get. We're getting the amps out. You're getting that. Yeah, something was happening weird. I'm going to reopen that and see if I can get it to work so I can play some electric. It may be one of those things that's just I have to turn off the streaming to do. I'm not sure, but we're not going to do that. We're going to keep streaming for now. That's priority. Okay, so I'm getting a lot of questions here. Let's see. The writing process. I will be doing Pomelo 201. I will be doing probably a lesson on ETA. I saw a lesson up there. The guy got pretty close, fairly close. I mean, the thing is that the writing process on that was just me vibing against a drum machine. And then the original track for that I sent to the producer was about almost 5 minutes of guitar, of that groove and that progression. And then he took that and he kind of grouped things up. He goes, this sounds like a verse progression. This sounds like a chorus progression. He chopped it up, moved them around. I don't know if there's actually any single phrase that's used twice in that song. That's the beauty of it. It's not a loop. So there's me doing a vibe. And so I just kind of was messing around. I usually will set up a groove on a drum machine, like if you've got Logic, there's a software called Drummer that's amazing. Just check it out. Logic's worth it if you're thinking at all about creating music for 100. If you have Max and it's $199 for Logic, it's such an unbelievably packed software program. So it's the most the biggest, full of samples and strings and pianos and effects and just everything, Mellotron, all the crazy stuff, synthesizers, a million synthesizers. For $200, you can't beat it. You just can't. You don't need to get anything else if you have Logic. I have a few other things. I like other different amps. I use Guitar Rig from Native Instruments a lot. I just got Amplitude. I'm having a little trouble with it right now. It's not, all the sounds didn't load, but so that is one of the, that's one of the things. Let me see if I can let me try here. This is a blank track. Let me load. I think I got, see what this sounds like. Get this. Yeah, you might be able to hear that. Anyway, it's kind of, that's the song. I mean, it's pretty much that. But it's just me vibing to a groove. And then they didn't have a copy of the, I didn't send them the drums. They never want drums. They just want the guitars because they're going to come up with something better. And they certainly did. But Drummer is a software in Logic that I'll load when I'm going to come up with an idea. And it has all different styles, everything from roots, alternative, rock, R&B, EDM, hip hop, all of those. And then you have different drummers to choose from and then different patterns. It's insane. It's a great thing. So, the chicken picks. Yeah, I've heard about them. I don't have any of those yet. How many guitars do I have? I don't even know that. I just bought 2 more yesterday. Now, don't get all like, oh, well, he just bought 2 more yesterday. No, actually, a friend of mine was getting rid of some. He had 2 Squires and he sold them to me for $150 total. So I got them for $75 each. I haven't really done anything with them yet, but you know me, I've got guitars like here. Where's that? Oh, got to get rid of this cord. Where's that? Here. Sorry, I'm still here. Okay, so here's another Squire. Probably paid $80 for this one. And I've got it strung up with only E strings, so it's all the same string. If you've watched my video on the cluster guitar, that's 6 E strings. So I could do this. Which and you're like, well, why would you want to do that? Well, for movies, let me pull up another track. Let me create a new track. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this, but then I'm going to bring up something that's like really crazy. Let's see. Not too crazy. Not too crazy. Let me go a little less crazy here. I've got so many sounds. It's beauty. That's another beauty of doing everything in the box. You can save all your sounds. You create some amazing sound and you can save it and it's there. And then with composers, I'll save. Oh, where's the delay? There was delay on this. A little bit. Let me add more delay. And you're like, okay, it's noisy. There we go. Get rid of that. More feedback. Okay, and I'm going to show you why. I'm going to crank. So, like, if I were to do some kind of like for movies and games, exactly, horror movie kind of thing. I also love this. Like, I can create 6 notes in 1 half step, and then tune them. Just by angling just by angling the slide between two frets, I'm getting 6 notes in one half step. So this is, I call this the cluster guitar. I've actually written like stuff on it. Like I can, you'd be surprised what you can kind of come up with on it. I mean, it's not the most conducive to writing, but it's like, see, I like that. I'm going to use that. But you couldn't do that on a regular tuned guitar. Bow in your pick on that guitar would sound killer too. I've got a bow. Right now the strings are kind of old, so they're going to make that noise. That's a really bad noise. It's actually a great noise. But I do a lot of weird stuff like this for Apex Legends. I don't know if you know that game, but I do all the guitar playing on Apex Legends, and it's great because every month or two I do more. They keep adding characters and different scenes in the game because it's an online game that they keep adding to, and so I've done that. Let's see. We're getting the. Oh, you're getting the answer. Okay, so EV overdrive gate all the way down. SD1. Yeah, there's so many great overdrive pedals. I have friends that have hundreds and hundreds of pedals. And Rat's classic. You got to have a Rat. A DS1, I have a DS1. I don't have a Rat. I do have a Tube Screamer, not an old one. I've got an old Distortion Plus, which is pretty much my first distortion pedal. And that thing's awful. MXR. Hulk smush. Okay, let's see. So yeah, well, and I like to stack overdrive pedals because you can kind of create multiple sounds. Like you hit one on and then you add another and then add another, and it's really gainy. That's always a fun trick to do. You love my videos on chords, Greg. Gregory, is that the ones where I kind of go further, dig deeper into the C chord, dig deeper into the D chord? Originally the first one was digging deeper into the D chord, and I wanted to come up with alliteration for all the chords, like exceptional easiness of the E chord. I don't know. I couldn't come up with it, so I just went. They all became digging deeper. So stupid. I tried really hard. I'm a pretty literal. I like writing, and I was like, come on, Tom, think of it. And it's so funny because the first one came out, and I didn't do another one for a while because I kept thinking I got to come up with a name for this, like groveling grinder into the G chord. I don't know. I could not come with it. It was driving me crazy. Let's see. Let's see. I won't be asking for the Bieber questions today. Yeah, Luis, you always ask me because it's hey the Biebers. It's the record's out now. I can't tell you any more than that. I would love, but I was watching the documentary. I don't know if you saw this, Lewis, but there were at one point they took you could see the console, the recording console at Henson Studios in Hollywood. And they have in the middle, they have the songs that are making the record. Then they had others over here and others over here. And I did a screenshot and I zoomed in and I saw that I had potentially 5 songs that could have made that record. 3 of them were some of those acoustic ones, Lewis, that were way back when. But Blowing in the Wind was one, and Raise the Bar, which is up, it got leaked. And then there was another one though that that was on there, and I go, oh, that's also mine. And then Always, which was Don't Go Far or whatever, I forget what some people think it's called, but it's actually called Always. So GarageBand comes with drummers. Oh, okay, and $4 opens all the drummers. See, there you go. So if you have a Mac computer, thank you, Watchman. If you have a Mac computer, it comes with GarageBand. So, and it was kind of funny because I never really got into GarageBand because I always had Logic. Before Logic, I was using Digital Performer, and Logic took me forever to get used to. And then they changed the interface and they made it look more like GarageBand. I was a little disappointed because I thought it was a little rinky-dink, but now I'm used to that, and it really isn't rinky-dink. They do just kind of try to round off some of the edges so it's not so technical. Some softwares can be really just really, really technical and not fun to look at because oftentimes I'm sitting here for 8 hours a day looking at this stupid software and it can be a drag. But yeah, that's cool. And then loops, yeah, the loops are great on there. Horror movie, yeah. Let's see, Ben. Hey Ben. Uh, yeah, so that's why I like. So I got two more. I got two more um, Squires yesterday from my friend Pee Wee, and this one, no, so this is cool. I love this color. I've never had a what is this? What's the white called? But it's not tuned or anything. But I will probably this one actually may be 6D strings. I've got, but the other one I got is actually the first Squire that I bought that has actually a humbucker here. So is that SSH or HSS? I'm never quite sure. I guess it's SSH. And so that one I might do all the D strings so that I can get the lower that cluster sound, but with lower strings. I'm tempted to do one with low E strings as well, but I already have one. I call my. I'll show you this one. If I have it out, do I have it out? Yeah, I do. Yeah, so I have another Squire that I have tuned up with just three E strings, and I actually did on this one. I actually did do three different E strings. I think this is like uh, a 52, a 54, and a 56, or maybe a 50 and a 52 and a 54. But so they do have some nuance to them. So if I decide to. Isn't that a cool sound? Now the drag is this one, and that might be actually better to do on the HH. Somebody correct me? See now? What's his name is gone. uh, where is he? He's gone. He said he was leaving, so I saw that in there. But he was correcting me. It was like BMO. BMO was correcting me. So is it if there's a humbucker here? Is it HSS when you talk? So when they're talking about a Strat pickup configuration, when they say SSS, it means 3 single coils. I've never seen one with HHH. I've seen a Les Paul with HHH. Actually, I did just recently see a Strat with HHH, which is weird. But that would be humbucker, humbucker, humbucker. Oh, awesome. But this one, like, if I want to go with like a rock sound, like if I do. You get that cool whole step. Even with slide, it sounds kind of cool. So anyway, I have a lot of these Squires to be used in weird ways like that, so that I can kind of get inspired, create weird sounds for my composers that I work for. I always like to come up with something new all the time for them, and so that they can have a new sound on their movie or TV show or game, and that's. In fact, let me go ahead and pull out this one. Let me tune this one up. This is the one I got yesterday. So I got two more of these yesterday. I just kind of my friend Pee Wee wanted to do something customization to his bass, so it was like he always likes to sell something before he buys something. So he didn't need these Squires, and I'm going to restring this at some point with Elixirs paid advertisement. No, I'm not paid, but I'll put I don't know which one I'm going to do this, but I think I'm going to do 6 D strings. So I can do that cluster lower. It's really cool though with sliding. I'll play it on my lap to get really, I could even take a longer slide like this, or even a big piece of pipe and go even like go 2 half steps or something. That would be cool. And somebody mentioned doing a bow. I've actually done that as well. I wish I were better. Break a Oh, that string is really. So I'm just tuning up this guitar that I got yesterday. I haven't even heard it. I mean, hopefully the pickups work. And I think on the ETA, I'm pretty sure it's my black Squire, or my main Strat. It may be my main Strat. I have to listen to it closer. I have the original file, so I can listen to it without any kind of reverb or delay or compression or anything on it. I really like what Phil did with it, though. Phil is one of the producers on it. Very talented guy. He played the trumpet on "Love Yourself," the Justin Bieber Ed Sheeran song. That's Phil playing trumpet. He got his degree in jazz, I think, at Berkeley, and trumpet was his main instrument. And so this is. Let's see if this even works. I didn't know. Yep, here it is. Guitar. Nice kind of glassy. I think it may need a slight neck adjustment, but can I do that? Yeah, I can do that. Forget. So I'm actually on that. I'm not pick. Sometimes I'm. No, I'm not. I'm not plucking. I slap the strings. I think I learned that. Okay, so HSS. So you count from the bridge to the neck. That's good to know. That sounds familiar. HSS. Although it's also like how you name a ship, right? So, yeah, ivory. Oh no, Watchman's right. This is called Olympic white, but it is ivory. I don't know why they call it Olympic white, but ivory I think would be a little bit more yellowish. This is just like the color of snow or something, but this is Olympic white. Now I don't have any Olympic white. Well, my bass 6 is Olympic white, but that thing looks more white to me. This has got a little bit more of an ivory look to it. Kathy, you're probably right. Good to see you, Lewis. He's gone. It's a little bit spanky. I think it's a little. I could raise the action. These are pretty low, so I probably will raise the action a little bit. If I use it for slide, I'll raise the action a lot, so I don't have to worry about hitting the frets. But this doesn't sound bad. Also, so tomorrow I'm gonna drop a new. It's kind of cream. Yeah. Please, sunshine you love. Is that the one? Did he play a cream Strat? That would make sense. I can't remember what color his name. Eric Clapton. Pleasant tune though. Yeah. So when I adjust the action, I'll do the intonation as well. But I like on my main Strat, I've got a maple fingerboard, but I do like the rosewood fingerboards a lot. Oh, that's what your main guitars are? So somebody asked me how many guitars I have. Yeah. Well, two more now. Um, I think, I mean, I'm probably in the 50 to 60 guitars, probably 80 to 90 instruments if you were to add them all together. I mean, I have six ukuleles, which is crazy. In fact, I've got so many that I'm thinking about taking the frets out of one of them to make it into a fretless ukulele, which would be kind of cool for a kind of a mini oud sound. Um, Kathy, good to see you again. You have a great time, okay? You're also in Michigan. We had somebody here earlier that was in Grand Rapids. Um, yeah, don't be late. You're welcome, Diane. Uh, let's see. Yeah, so I think I'm kind of caught up on. Oh, you do the guitar playing on Apex Legends? Yes, I do the guitar playing on Apex Legends. That's pretty cool. It's funny because the kids today, they're like, "Oh, you play with Bieber? Yeah, you played with Bieber, big deal. You play on Apex Legend? What?" Also, I realized that I raised my eye. I do this too much on my videos. I'm trying to not do that, but I'm like, that's like me saying, "Hey, I'm conveying information at this moment," so I raise my eyebrows. But then I look at the videos and it's like hard to do a screenshot and not have me going. So Shepherd's legendary. Well, you must go to Shepherd. I'm there pretty much every weekend. That's something I look forward to every weekend. So in my church, I play at my church. We have 3 services every weekend. It used to be 5 services, but we moved into a new building that has a lot more seats, so we only have to do 3, which is great because 5 was brutal. I'd probably be retired by now if we were still doing 5 services. Um, yeah, crazy eyes. Yeah, right. Don't date me. I got crazy eyes. Yeah, so we've talked about a lot of different things. Um, we've talked about guitar picks. We've talked about licensing music. Somebody was going to call me on that today. I was supposed to do a kind of a talk consultation on the phone. And they were going to ask me about licensing music. And I don't know that any opportunity I've had to license music, I got myself. It was always somebody else that I worked with that got the gig. I will write with people that have connections that I don't have. And I'm sure that's what they're writing with me for too, because there are connections I have that they don't have. But my church is in Porter Ranch, California. See you, Chris. Good night from New York. Good night from LA. Is it? What time is it there? Well, it's 5:30 there. Yeah, it's getting there. Yeah, Calvary Chapel in Costa Mesa. I remember going down there back in the 80s and for the, what was it, Saturday night concerts or Sunday night concert or Friday night. They would have some pretty big Christian bands. I saw Striper there. I saw a bunch of bands at Calvary Chapel, Costa Mesa. That was a big room. I don't know how big that room is. I'm sure this one is bigger. Our sanctuary seats 3,500, and like the 11 o'clock service on Sunday is packed. The Saturday service is getting there, and the Sunday first service is pretty full. Once they fill them up, they'll add one. God mob, I'm out. Sorry. Not apologizing. But anyway, yeah, so that's I've been playing at Shepherd for 20 years now. So come by, say hey. Shepherd Church. I think it's shepherdchurch.org is the website. You can check it out. See, I like the out of phase sound on these. My main Strat has noiseless pickups, which I'm not like a technical guy, but I think they technically are like humbuckers but stacked, and they have a single coil sound, but it's not quite like out of phase. It doesn't get this glassy. It's so to me that's really glassy sound. Yeah, Yeah, that's a sexy track too. I was telling one of the producers, I said, there are gonna be a lot of babies made to that to that record. It's like when someone told me that there's probably like a million babies made to Bread's greatest hits. The A side of Bread's greatest hits has the uh, the best like 70s mellow rock love songs, the best of Bread. That's what it was, the best of Bread. Yeah. It's funny because I actually my one of my best friends is David Gates nephew. Bob Gates is my friend, and David Gates is the lead singer for Bread. Wrote all the songs and great songwriter. And he when they had their first hit though, I think it was I'd like to make it with you or whatever. And the local paper ran an article when he was coming back to do his first concert back home after being famous, getting famous. They thought the song title was "I'd like to get naked with you," and that's what they put in the newspaper article. It's pretty funny. I just posted that on my Facebook page. I thought I was watching some Elton John thing, and he was singing "Draw Me Closer," Tony Danza. So everybody started putting all the other, excuse me while I kiss this guy and all that, all the lyrics that are confused. What's your favorite confused lyric? That's my next question. Oh yeah, don't forget to write that invoice. Thank you, BMO. Don't worry, I flagged the email. I'll do that as soon as so I can get my few bucks here. The money's just sitting there waiting for me. Let's see. So what else is going on? I'm about ready to sign off. I am about to sign off. Let's see. Pastor Dudley. What do we have? Yeah, Ben. If you haven't checked out my series I started on the business of making music, it's hugely unpopular. We're looking at hundreds of views. So like 100 views would generate. Let's see. I get a penny for. I'm not complaining here. Okay, keep in mind I love YouTube, not because they're listening to me right now. I'm not saying that. I love YouTube because it does create passive income, and I really have tried to keep my career directed towards passive income. Not because I want to retire and live in a mansion or anything like that. It's very satisfying to get paid for your work and to continue to get paid for your work. And in so many professions, you can't do that. You fix someone's teeth and you make their teeth perfect. You get paid a lot of money up front because you're a dentist or an orthodontist, but you're not getting a royalty the rest of their lives. And I know that royalty thing is kind of a weird model, but I really do love the fact that my work, I even like the fact that I'm not getting paid now for something that to me, it's kept me invested in my career. It's kept me working, even though somebody wasn't paying me to work. That's the hardest thing to do. It's hard to, and I think the thing that really, really conditioned me for that kind of mentality was practicing the guitar. Because I practiced from the age of 15 to the age of 35. I mean, I say it all the time, and it's pretty darn true. I practiced about 8 hours a day, almost every day. I mean, even on vacation. I mean, I guess if there was a day I was flying or driving and I was on the road the whole day, I wasn't practicing. But other than that, even on vacation, I'd have my routine that I was going through, whether it was, classical warm-ups or, Segovia scales or Giuliani arpeggios, or was it jazz or rock licks or inventing things or writing. I was always constantly creating things. I've talked about this before. If I have something that I can't do, if there's some technique I don't have, what I would do is I'd write a song. or an exercise that really works that technique, and then you get it down. So I had that discipline of working without any present reward. I mean, that's when you go to school. It's the same thing. You're doing all this work for school, and your reward is later when you get your career going. And so that's kind of what um, uh, why I kind of got in the ability to go ahead and work today for something that won't show up for 9 to 18 months. I mean, my wife calls it being career pregnant. It really does take a long time for some of this money to show up. So if I write a song, say for a TV show on Discovery Channel, um, I've got to write it. So it may take me a day to write and record everything. I've got to send the files to my writing partner. He's going to do all the mixes and all the different stems, and he sends it to them. And then that may be a week or two in that process. And then it has to get on a show, and it may sit in a folder for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months before it actually shows up on a show. And then so they drop it into a show, but that show doesn't air the same day they drop it in. They have to finish editing it, and then that show gets scheduled, and that show might not get scheduled for another 3 or 4 months, and then the royalty will show up 6 to 9 months after that. So it takes forever to see the fruit of your labors. When you're writing music in that kind of context. I mean, if I were scoring for a film, then you usually would get paid upfront money to do that. And that way, because you really are going to be taking off 6 weeks of your life to finish a film or something. It's a major, major task. I've never done any full feature films. I would love to. Actually, I would love to work on a TV. I would love to write for a series, a regular like sitcom or a TV show or something like that. I would love to do like Breaking Bad kind of show, something where you can just really come up with a sonic landscape that you just use. And again, that plays to the whole in the box software programs. I really like being able to have all my sounds right there. I've got folders named after composers. So if they say, "Hey, can you get that guitar sound from 3 years ago on a movie we did?" I can pull it up and it's right there. So. Oh, you're a wannabe guitarist. Yeah. So, now I use nines mostly. I've used 9.5s on my gauge. I'm sorry, I use tens mostly. These are nines. I can tell. And I saw that Rick Beato video about using eights, and I'm like, whoa. Elixir, sorry, plug. They don't even make eights. I even emailed the office and said, get ready to get calls for eights. I'm curious if they have been, because Rick Beato is pretty influential, and they did that test where they put eights on the Les Paul and did eights, nines, tens, and 11s, and they really liked the bottom end better on the eights. I don't know. I'd be afraid I'd be breaking strings a lot. Tens feel good to me. I like the tension on a Strat with tens. I used to put 11s on my Les Paul because I tended to overbend, because I'm more of a Strat player, and a Strat has a bigger radius on the fretboard. This is the radius. The curve here is the radius, and Strats have bigger radiuses, so they're a little tougher to bend on, and Les Pauls tend to be a flatter radius, and so they're a little easier to bend. But the problem is, if you're going from a Strat to a Les Paul, you're likely to, because it's easier, you're likely to overbend, and that's what I was doing. So I went ahead and put 11s on there, because when I was playing the Les Paul, I was tending to bend sharp, and then the other thing was I was using Les Pauls mainly for heavy and hard rock stuff. So I felt like the 11s sounded better, but that was just conventional wisdom thinking. So this video that Rick Beato put out a couple weeks ago about the string gauge thing kind of took me by surprise. Took a lot of us by surprise, I think, because he even teased what it was about in the title, and I assumed he was going to go to heavier strings to get the good tone, and he actually went the other way around. So that was crazy. So that's my game. But mostly I use tens. I use lights on my acoustics. I used to use heavies or mediums on my Gibson Dove, that one there. But I'm back to lights, not extra lights, but lights. So the 12 is the top on that one. Elton John did a song on the new. That's right, on the new Ozzy. A friend of mine, in fact, I just saw him on Friday. Andrew Watt produced that record. Andrew's a great guitar player, written some great pop hits, and he and I actually, he's one of the writers on Home to Mama, which is a song that Justin Bieber and Cody Simpson sang, that was on the last record, Purpose. And so I wrote, played that. What you see? Oh, I missed most of it. What musician writers should get an understanding of music business, i.e., SR22 form is mailing a song. Oh, um, you know, yeah. I mean, the thing about the SR22, I think that whole thing. Um, the people I work, when I send music to people, they do all that stuff. When I write for these, they take care of all that, and they do it in batches. You can put more than one song. So Watchman for You, what you could do is you could, if you wanted to, you could wait till you had 20 or 30 songs and put them on a CD and mail, send it in as a the the whatchamacallit, you instead of doing an SR22 for every song, you would say the collective works of Watchmen for You, number one, the collective works of Watchmen for You, number two, number three, number four, number five. And that way you can batch copyright them. You don't have to do and have I ever sued? I would never. I don't know that I would ever sue anyone for. I had someone take Home to Mama and they did a recording, and it was somebody sent it to me, and it was like almost exactly. And I'm like, I mean, it's hard to copyright that. That was just me vibing on a descending progression. I wouldn't really sue anyone for that. Is the TV stuff? It wouldn't be worth my time to sue anyone if they stole it. So, anytime I work on a big record, that's going to be the label's job to do all that. So, yeah, you can do up to 30 under one time. I would do that. Yeah, works up band. Yeah, that's right, exactly. So you can do that. As far as that goes, yeah, I know you're nervous about playing music out in public and someone's going to steal your riff or whatever. I've never really, had that issue. There are a couple times where I heard songs come out and I went, and I'd been working with the people. There was one case where someone released a song. I won't say who it is, but it's a pretty big R&B artist, and I got credited with playing the guitar on, even though I told them it wasn't me. And the production team was confused, and I said, they played me the track, and I said, no, I'm pretty sure that's not me. It sounds like me on the guitar, but it wasn't me. And they said, okay, but I still have a credit for it, which is really weird. And I tried to get them to take it down, but they wouldn't. But that's okay. It's not a big deal to have a credit for something you didn't do. But I hate to take credit for it. Well, I just found out last week that the reason they had me confused is because they actually wrote the top line to my guitars, and then they had someone else replace my guitars with their guitars and gave them the credit. But they weren't playing what I played, but I imagine it was close enough that I could have probably gone, well, this is my song. But I decided I'm not going to do that because, it's, you get a bad rep. Hollywood's a big city. LA's a big city, but Hollywood's a small town. And you can get a reputation for being that guy. I do come up, when I write a hook, I've had some of my favorite hooks where I got them to a writer that didn't do anything good on top of it. And my problem is that I don't send out, unlike a producer that will produce an amazing track and then send it to 10 different top line writers to write top lines, and then he'll get those back and pick the best one or maybe combine two of them. I don't like to do that. I don't like to send my hooks out to more than one camp because I would be mortified if the same hook got on two records. That would be awful. And you would have to do a lot of backtracking, and then people would not be working with you anymore. So the downside to that is I may write a really, really cool track and I get it to someone and they don't do anything with it. So I'm trying to be more selective about who I send it to. I'm also being more open up front. Like, if you're not going to use this, I should probably keep a spreadsheet together and say, okay, it's been a year since I sent this hook. But I'd almost rather go, okay, forget that hook. I'll write a better one. I always feel like I've got a better idea of just waiting to be discovered on my fretboard. I actually played some piano on some songs too, but for the most part, it's guitar. Um, and so that's a little bit frustrating. But I think as I'm kind of climbing a little bit in this business, I can be a little bit more demanding, so to speak, up front. That if you don't use it, let me know. Uh, if I had some decent lyrics, that's a tough one. Tony, that's tough. I've had people send me what they thought were decent lyrics, and they were they were maybe too personal. I've written a lot of songs, and I've written a lot back in the day when I wasn't able to make a living at it. I was writing everything, and that's the thing I talk about in my video: collaborate, collaborate, or collaborate, collaborate, collaborate. Um, uh, and that's what you're asking to do. You want to send your lyrics to someone else to write a different thing. But when I wrote lyrics, they were very specific and very personal, and they were, it would be hard for someone else to sing those. My wife sang them; she was the singer in my band. Um, but it was difficult to find, difficult, I think, to send lyrics out by themselves without a melody. A lot of times melodies and lyrics get written by the same person. I think I've got a couple songs that I've written with Julia Michaels, who's a really good songwriter, and she pretty much does. And we haven't gotten a release yet, but no songs on records yet. But and Stara, Pooh Bear, they really like coming up with the top line. They like creating the lyrics and the melody because lyrics and melody really belong together. So sometimes they kind of bounce off each other when you're writing them. They inspire. But as far as doing that, what you might want to do is you might want to find someone you can collaborate with that can come up with the melody for your lyrics or something. I always give this suggestion though to people that wanting to send music out. This is not lyrics, but music in general. Um, uh, you, sorry, I got distracted by Watchmen. But you can shoot, I forgot what I was going to say again. I get distracted. Look, oh look, a squirrel. All right, so wait a minute. Okay, decent. Yeah, so, but if you were to write with someone else, now you're doubling your opportunities. If there's 3 people on the song, you're tripling your opportunities, to getting those songs out there. You would want, if you had lyrics, it just depends. I mean, sometimes I think I write a really good lyric, but it's not very universal. When I wrote worship songs, lyrics were very, worship music is the most formulaic music because the lyrics have to be universal truths. They have to be biblical, but they also have to be something that everybody can sing. They can't be something like, my father in heaven is great, my father on earth was awful, kind of thing, because not everybody has a bad dad. My dad was awesome. So, so worship music, is very formulaic. I also believe, like with worship music, the melody needs to fit in a certain range. I think that's always good anyway. I think always good to have a melody that you can sing because you want music to be approachable by the masses, or you want your melodies to be, the more people that can sing along with your record on the radio, the more requests you're going to get. If you're like, these crazy range of vocals range, I know you love that. That's not, that's not going to be very singable by the person driving to work in the morning or driving to school in the morning. So they're not going to be calling up the radio station to request that song again. So, okay, royalties mechanical. All are what? ASCAP, BMI, who monitor airplay, units sold, blah, 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 sporting events, all that stuff. It's, you'd be shocked. No. Yeah, we could talk for hours. What's the hardest chord to play? This one's pretty hard. I'll show you an adult chord. I'm going to get back to you, Watchman. That's an E4 chord. So here's E4. So that is, I'll type it in here, 07. It's not that hard. 6200. And I call this E4. So it's an E triad with a fourth added. All right. So oh, you deleted your question. Why did you retract it? Can you unretract it? So anyway, royalties. So mechanicals are based on sales. Okay. So a mechanical royalty on a song on a record is 9.1 cents per song. So if the record has 10 songs on it, that means that the 91 cents is going to the songwriters and their publishers. So let's say you wrote all 10 and you published all 10 songs on a record. Every record that sold, you should be getting 91 cents from the record company for that alone. That's mechanicals. That's not based on any kind of airplay, radio, television use, streaming. Streaming also pays mechanicals and it pays BMI and ASCAP. That's why the record companies are making money again. They were on a downward trend for years and years and years because of illegal downloads. But once streaming got it all figured out with streaming, and they came up with arrangements with them. Streaming became a real good source of income for record companies. Okay. So let's say you wrote 10 songs on a record, that would be 91 cents. So if it sold 100,000 units, you would get, that would be $91,000. If you sold 1 million units, you would get $910,000. So the thing is that nobody owns, I mean, very few people, Bob Dylan maybe owns 100% of the songs on every record. And that's separate. And Bob Dylan would also have an arrangement on per record for his royalty as an artist royalty. That's a different royalty than the songwriter royalty. Now, the record labels in the contracts they do with, right? See, it used to be 6.1 cents. And I forget when it was, 70s or 80s, it changed to 9.1 cents. And the labels were pretty pissed about that, I think. But it was an act of Congress that said it, if I'm not mistaken. And so they do what's called on an actual CD, a hard copy CD, and I have a copy. I bought yesterday at Target. I bought a copy of the new Bieber record, Changes. They pay a 75% royalty, so they take 25% off because of returns. Okay, so if you buy a CD, the writers and publishers are getting 75% of 9.1 cents per song. Now the Bieber record this Changes record has 19 or 17 songs on it. So, if you multiply that out, let's see, 17 times, what did I say, 9.1? So that's 0.91. Oops, clear sheet. 0.091. So that's $1.54, but almost $1.55 per unit that they're having to send out, out of the $13 price that they're sending out to the writers, and that's mechanical royalty. The reason record companies like streaming, radio does not pay record companies anything, or artists. So if an artist has a smash hit with a cover and the radio plays it nonstop, the artist isn't going to make any money from those spins. Only the writers make money from that. However, streaming like Apple Music and Tidal and Rhapsody and Spotify, of course, the biggest, they all pay royalties, and they pay mechanicals, and they also pay artists royalties. They pay money to the labels, and the labels have to pay some of that money in mechanicals to the writers. So I get quarterly royalties for spins for things. Most of my income is from TV stuff that I've written. But there have been periods of time where the Bieber stuff came close because it was a new record. It came out, people were really listening to it. And this record is going to be big. I know I'm getting a lot of spins on it already, but on ETA. But yeah. Oh, you're trying to? Yeah, don't hurt yourself. Oh, I'm going to do a video on finger stretches. I got to do a little research, but I have a routine that I go through every day. I'm getting old, so I've been doing this for quite a while, and I did it when I was a kid too. But it's I have a lot of people request me for that, so that'll be one of the videos I'll do in the next few weeks, I'm sure. And I'm also hoping to interview a rheumatologist about arthritis because I have a lot of subscribers that are older because of my big video, the big video of mine. Um, and they always asking me, can I play guitar with arthritis? And I'm going to find out some of these questions. I've got some really good questions that have come to me, and some that I've come up with that I'm going to ask this father of actually one of my songwriting partners. Her father is a retired rheumatologist, so he's going to answer that. But I do plan to do an ETA tutorial. I always forget that C chord. Yeah, I'll definitely do a tutorial on that at some point. I just showed it to you now. It's somebody did one and it was pretty close. So back to the royalties. So so the whole that 75% royalty based on returns. Well, they can't do that on downloaded songs. So if you download the album, it's pretty irrelevant because very few people are buying albums anymore. Although Bieber, still people want to have the hard copy. And they're really good at marketing, putting a poster in it and stuff like that. So people, true fans will buy the hard copy. So they may sell 5 or 10 million of the record just in hard copy. But eventually, but what with Spotify, I don't know what the number is, but there's a certain number of spins, like it may be 750 spins equals one download. Okay. So then you're getting paid for the spin, fractions of a penny, but then you're getting your share of that 9.1 cents mechanical royalty for that download. And so that was the agreement that they had with record companies, and record companies are starting to turn profit. I'm not, I know there are a lot of big label people here, but labels allow artists to do stuff that they would never, and have access to things that they would never be able to do if they weren't on a label. So I'm not anti-label, but definitely they're making money now because of streaming, and it's not hurting them so much. Whereas before, people were illegally streaming or illegally downloading music, and there was no money to be made for anybody then. Well, do artists make more? Artists make most money, I think, touring, depending on the artist. I remember when Emerson, Lake and Palmer went on tour, they lost money because they took an orchestra with them. So you're not gonna make money if you're taking an orchestra on your tour with you. Yes, I think that well, it depends on the timeline. I think that probably Michael Jackson made more money than Justin Bieber or Drake, but in his time and in today's dollars, probably more money. But Drake's making a ton of money. I know that my understanding is there's somewhere around Drake had something like 5 billion spins on streaming the first week of his last record. So his last record was a double album. The first week he had 5 billion spins. That's serious spins. And I think the number that I heard is something like for all the entities involved, something like $7,000 is generated for every million spins. And so if you run the numbers on that, that means that week there was $35 million to be split up among all the shared stakeholders. Jordan Rudass, I don't know how to say his name. He'll cover an orchestra. Oh yeah, right. Yeah, so I would say that artists, but if you go back just 10 years, I think that artists are definitely making more today. And again, it all depends on your contract. That first label deal, maybe a 3-record deal, they're going to be making a lot more money. And keep in mind, there's something called recoupable. So if you sign a label deal, be aware of that because that's a real thing. Recoupable means if they give you a $2,000 a month stipend to live on, that's $24,000 a year that they're going to get back out of your future royalties before you see anything. And so that's something to be aware of. But yeah. Yes. Well, I don't disagree. In fact, when the vinyl comes out for Believe, I think it comes out at the end. I mean, not Believe. When the vinyl comes out for the album Changes, I think I will buy a vinyl just because I think it'll look cool. And opened up the CD this morning and I saw my name in it. Not the first time I've seen my name on a record or anything, but it's always cool. But they gave me producer credit too, so that's another source of income for that record. So I've got a percentage of the producer points on that song, and so any money that generates that also comes. So that's another thing that the labels have to pay out. They pay producers points, which when there was no sales, CD sales were down, producers stopped the point thing, stopped being a thing, and that's when producers started taking writers percentage because they would make more money on the back end than they would get from producer points. um, it's a crazy business, and you really have to adapt and adjust. And for me, the beauty of this project was that I was working with the top people in the business, and they were looking out for me, which is just, you can't. I mean, they go, "Oh, we're making you a producer on this record." I'm like, "What?" Because I created the guitars in my studio, So, and so that's gonna pay dividends there too. So, um, uh, well, yeah, and that any new artist is gonna the label's gonna. It's just like a baseball contract or a basketball contract or something like that. It's a football, in particular NFL football contract. They're taking a big risk. I think about the record Thriller, and it sold what, 60 million copies. That allowed Epic to sign so many bands that went nowhere, and they have, for every record that gets released, there could be 5 records sitting on a shelf that never got released for any number of reasons. It could be there are dozens of reasons why a record never gets released. And I've played on a lot of those kind of records where it's just like it just got shelved. And so labels spend a lot of money developing talent, and so they are going to get a lot of money. And if the artist is successful, and can have a success past one record, if you're a one-hit wonder, and I know people that are still touring on their one hit, so, and making plenty of money touring on one hit. But if you are a label and you paid for that one hit and you paid a lot of money for that, they're going to take their money up front because they got to keep doing it. So, and I've been to Sony, and it's a big office, and I've been to Warner Brothers, and it's a big electric bill, and it's a lot of employees, and they got down to skeleton staffs not that long ago. So, um, oh, I know, the fire, that was crazy. Yeah, Rick Beato talked about that. The masters, I think many of the masters have digital copies, but the original tapes are gone. Read up about that. That's a bummer. And the other thing is, labels are not going to necessarily promote small time or music that doesn't have, Americana is not going to sell as much as pop. So labels are happy to sign a pop artist they know they can market over Americana artists they don't know what they can do with. But that's the cool thing about the social media and the internet and everything, is that if you're a small artist and you've got a loyal following, you can sell a lot of, you can have a lot of streaming, you can have video streams, you can do, there's so many ways. There's another thing you can look up. If you've got a band, you can do this. If you've got a band with a following, check out this, stageit.com. Stage It, you can do from your laptop in your living room. You can do a live show with your band. You can do like an unplugged live thing. I did it with Kelly Jekyll, who I work with, and it's live, and you can only see it then. It's not archived. You don't put it up on. It doesn't show up on YouTube or anything like that. It's a one-off. It's 30 minutes. You might be able to set it for however long you want. You could do 15 or an hour if you want, I think. And we made, in 30 minutes, we grossed $500. Okay, now her parents were watching, and I think they paid maybe 100 of that or 80 of that or something. It's pretty funny. And Stage It, because we didn't quite get to 500. I mean, read the contract, but they took 37% of that. Okay, because they're the host, and they're the platform by which you promote everything. But you can promote everything. Kelly has 200 some odd thousand followers on Instagram. So she had a bunch of Instagram, she promoted it on Instagram, and then people logged in. And we tried to do it at a time. I think we did it like 5 p.m. or something like that, where it was people in California could watch and people in New York could watch. It was kind of like that kind of thing. Or we may have done it on the the Archive Fire was heartbreaking. Um, so stage it, check it out. If you've got a band, and they do recommend that you mic it out and to have a sound man and everything like that. But you don't have to do that. If you're going to do like a sofa unplugged thing, you can even do a solo performance. Your laptop works fine. You can also use a USB microphone and hook it to your laptop, or if you want, you could do something like what I've got here, which is a microphone hooked into mic pre into Apogee into my iMac. My iMac. So that can be, you can do it a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be perfect. Again, it's the cool thing about it is if you miss it, that's it. It's not archived. So if it's not the best show, it doesn't matter. And we had fun. We had fun doing it. I actually literally played, I think we did 6 or 7 songs. I literally played 7 different instruments because with her, for some reason, I have a song in Dadgad. I have a drop D. I played one of the songs. I played on an Irish bouzouki. One was on nylon, one was a standard tuning, and then there was another one I can't remember. But literally, I played a different instrument on every song. So she was left having to riff in between songs while I grabbed another guitar. Maybe the next one we'll just do standard. But we've got a new thing coming out that's crazy. I can't even describe it. It's so weird. But it's like folk meets heavy metal meets orchestral music meets film score. That's Kelly Jekyll. Let's see. And we've had one placement. This is her. You can look her up. We've had one placement in a movie, maybe 2. We kind of 2. Well, one and then another was a Hallmark special. She kind of does Hallmark movies too. She's like an actress. She's an actress. She was in Pitch Perfect, and she did a lot of the singing in Pitch Perfect too. So when you hear the singing, that's her. Now, Kermit, are you in a band or signed to a label or something? And that's the reason you hire a lawyer. A lawyer, will look over a contract, explain everything. Yeah, I mean, as far as what Bieber releases, I'm not sure who makes that decision. And I'm hoping they release more because, like I said, I had on that documentary, I saw 5 of my songs on the table as potential releases. So it would be great to have a couple more of those released. There were some really nice ones. Getting the last bit of my coffee. Sometimes I tear the cup and lick to the bottom. I don't do that. All right. Well, it's getting late, and I probably should try to do something. I need to finish editing movies. I'm going to post a movie tonight or tomorrow, another strumming lesson. That one is called The Free Range Groove. I'm going to do that one. Yeah, I'll tell you, there's a book. You can I play guitar with my teeth? No. Well, no, but people, when they do it, they pretend like they're playing. They're just really hammering on. I mean, maybe some guys are actually playing with their teeth, but I really don't want to spend too much money at the dentist. There's a book called Hitmen. It's probably out of print. And it's one of those books where you'll never want to go into the music industry if you read this book. It's a fascinating book, but it really makes you go, oh my gosh. And there have been some great artists that got totally ripped off. There have been some musicians and songwriters that get ripped off. And there's definitely con men out there. I think it's tougher and tougher to do that because pretty much everybody hires lawyers on every side. I mean, I'm in the middle of that right now with the Bieber record. I've got, lawyers that are having to look over contracts and stuff. Not major stuff, not big deal. It's just mostly just synopsizing it for me so that I understand what I'm signing more than anything. Let's see. They have Jimmy Page always carried the mask. Yes. So what was that? I'm sorry, I'm reading that. See, master tapes, Watchmen. I know it's hard to. So He had with a person, and Zepp went to Moon and got rich. They got 30 million for a drum intro. To Moon, Keith Moon. Anyway, so um, now, was Badfinger, were they signed to Apple though? Like, because so was well, and I also know John Fogerty. He didn't record music for how many years till he could get out of his contract, and then he had a smash hit with his first album out of that, and he made a lot of money then from that record. So yeah, it's all those first contracts are going to be pretty screwed. But again, with lawyers now, as long as you hire a lawyer, you're going to do better. It's I think it's less common today. I do think though that the biggest thing I see, and I've worked with several artists, young artists. One of the biggest things I see is they do all this work and the record never comes out, and the label makes nothing, and they paid all this money and they get nothing. I've also had friends that did publishing deals and they got advances, and it took them 20 years to pay back the advance. I mean, you still make money in the short in the interim on a publishing deal. It's just that they get all of your publishing until you've paid back the advance. So if you get a $50,000 advance, until your publishing makes $100,000, you don't pay back that advance, because typically what happens is you do a publishing deal and it's like, yeah, maybe 50-50. So they get 50% of your publishing and you get 50% of your publishing. But with your 50% of the publishing, you're paying back that $50,000. So that's why it has to make 100,000 in publishing before you pay back that 50. Now, in the meantime, you're still getting your writer's share, which is 100% of the writers. And so if the publishing is a 50 or 100,000, that means the writer's 100,000 too. So you made $100,000 writing, and they made 50,000 off your publishing, plus you paid them back 50,000. It's all very convoluted, but something like that. That's basically a typical kind of publishing deal. Once you pay back that money, then you can do a new contract. You can get another 50,000 if you want, or whatever. But the reason you probably signed that publishing deal was because they were the ones that were getting the song placed on a record, and you would never have had that opportunity to make the other 100,000 if it didn't get on a record. So, yeah, someone's always wanted a piece of the action, but I'm very contrarian on this stuff, though. Okay, the thing is, I've always said if someone very powerful is making money off of you, you'll be fine. Okay, because they want to keep you making money for them, so they're going to set you up. So if you've got, for example, if I sign a publishing deal with a major publisher, and I'm actually in the middle of doing a deal with Cobalt, and it's just an admin deal because I don't need a publisher to get me connections. I already have connections. So I'm in a very enviable position that way. I've always been self-published. I've only had administrators for my publishing, and they only take 15%, 15% generally to administer. But mechanical royalties, I can't collect myself except US mechanicals. Those come directly to me from the labels. But the foreign mechanicals, you have to have a sub-publisher or an administrative publisher to collect those. And so it's worth it. And they even offered me an advance, and I said no, because I didn't need an advance. Yeah, Fogerty. Yeah, and that's and again, they may have sued him because he was in breach of contract. And there are deals I've heard, like publishing deals can be money. You pay back a certain amount of money and you're done with that deal. I have a friend that took 30 years to pay back his. He had one song on one movie and signed a publishing deal to get money to live on, and it took him 30 years to pay back that money. But it could be based on that, or it could be based on percentages of songs. So in other words, you could do what's called a 2-song deal. So you pay back the contract is fulfilled when you've got a total of 2 songs on major records. So if you're like a songwriter that writes for a lot of different artists, because typically you don't get 100% of a song. So you might get 10% of a song, and so you'd have to do that 20 times to get to 200%, which is two full songs. Um, yeah, and yeah, I mean we can have. Yeah. Well, sometimes I mean I don't know how many anybody does anything. I mean I buy guitars for write-offs, yeah, but I buy guitars to use. I don't have a guitar sitting on. I'm not. None of those are hanging on the wall because there was a write-off. Maybe they do that. I can tell you one thing. I have a friend who got his band signed, and then that label got bought by another label right after that, a major label. So the small label signed my friend's band, and then this major label signed them or bought the small label. And as soon as the major label bought that small label, they dropped my friend's band. And the thing was, my friend didn't know this, and they got money for this, but nothing ever happened. Well, the record got released, but the reason the small label signed them was so that they would have an even 10 bands on their roster and would get more money from the big label. And these are all big players in the business. The big label to get this small label. So, and then they didn't, they went through the 10 bands and they go, yeah, these two we don't want, but we really wanted this band and this band. And so that's why the big label kind of absorbed the smaller label, and the smaller label guy, he made, I think $100 million or something on it. So he made a lot of money. My friend's band, the thing that they lost was they just were discouraged because they thought, it's very discouraging to think you're going to have a record come out and then not have it really. And you pour your blood and sweat and you do club dates and you're promoting stuff and you're going out and doing all this stuff. And it's very discouraging to be used as a pawn in that way. But it was very exciting at the time, and we were really like all excited for my friend. So, yeah, I mean, if you can do it yourself, I mean, my friend Judith Hill, she does everything herself pretty much. I mean, she had a deal with Sony and got a big advance and ended up having to pay it back or something because she did a record with Prince. I'm not sure of all the details, but Prince produced her last record, or one of her records, and a few years ago, just before he died, and he wanted her to release it on Warner Brothers, which was his label, and she couldn't because she was signed to Sony or whatever. So they released it for free because it was technically not a release if it was free. And the music got out there that way, but then the label sued and it became a mess. Let's see. Fogerty because he plagiarized. Yeah, that's hard to prove, and I vaguely remember that. I mean, Fogerty was just being Fogerty. You can't plagiarize himself. And the label owned the masters on the originals that he did, but people weren't buying. I don't think of any song on that record as sounding like any CCR song, but I definitely think it all sounds like John Fogerty, which I think is awesome. John Fogerty is great. That record was huge, and I was so glad. I think even when that record came out, we knew that story. That was like, I was working at a record store when that came out, and what was it called? Was it called Center Field, or am I thinking it wrong? Put Me in Coaches on that record, right? And so we were kind of rooting for the guy. I have a feeling the radio stations were probably doing that. So a lot of artists are going to have crappy deals for their first 3 records, but if they manage to stay in the game and have hits, they're going to get they're going to get much better deals later on, and they're going to own a lot more. And that's why a lot of times you'll see 4 different record labels listed on a label, because the band created their own label that gets distributed by the major label, and the major label's only distributing anymore, so they're just getting a percentage of that. And so, Old Man Down the Road, was that one of the songs? Okay. And that maybe one of the songs was really close to a CCR hit or CCR song. There's some, yeah, I mean, that's a toughie. And, he was pretty pissed. And I wonder what would happen if he'd gone ahead and continued releasing records in that crappy deal. What would have happened? I don't think he would have come back with such a big smash after that. Like, he was sitting on some good songs, I'm assuming, while he was under contract, and that probably pissed them off. So they were just looking for it. Like I said, I mentioned like 4 hours ago when we started this live stream that Nike reached out to the Oasis, uh, management to license Wonderwall, and then they wanted too much money, like a million, 1.25 million, and so Nike contracted someone to compose something in the spirit of Wonderwall. Wasn't the same melody, wasn't the same anything, key, tempo, but it was in the spirit of Wonderwall. And because there was a paper trail, the Oasis team was looking for Nike to come up with a commercial that had that flavor to it. So that's what they went. Do I have any pets? Well, I have a cat. She actually made a sonic appearance maybe in my video I did today. So we'll see. She jumped she was laying there next to the camera, and then she jumped down and made a clunk when she hit. I don't know if it'll make the camera, because if the camera picked it up, because I was strumming at the time. But I'm wearing my Rick Beato black today, aren't I? With the gray hair and the black. Totally doing the Rick Beato thing. Except I don't have 8,000 people online. I got 14 right now. I think I got up to 30. That was the highest I saw. Anybody see higher than 30 up there? Some of you have been with me from minute one, which is hilarious. Yeah, like I said, Kermit, if you want to read that book, Hitman. I mean, it'll make you glad you're not in the record industry. Let me see if it's on Amazon. I can generate a link that I can make a couple pennies on. Which is just another way in the business to make money, as Safari close. I hate when Safari closes on its own. I think it's out of print though. Hitman, I think is what it was called. Yeah, Hitman book. Nope, there it is. No, it's still doable. Okay, cool. So this is it. I don't know if it's been updated or anything. Oh. Wait, what? This is what I want. So I'm going to generate a link. You can at least read about it. You can probably read the first few pages, or if you have Kindle, you can. Where are you? Safari, Chrome. Okay. Here's a link to Hitman. If it'll let you do. Yeah, that should open up a link. Your cat's up. I had a cat. Well, we called it, our first cat was a stray that we took in, and one night we were sleeping. We'd just been married, and we didn't even have any furniture, so my classical guitar was just laying on the ground, and we heard this like in the middle of the night. I'm laying in bed and I hear. So I go out, and she's literally grabbing the G string, very specifically the G string, with her paw and plucking it. I'm not sure how she managed to miss all the other strings. So from that day forward, she was known as Segovia because it was a classical guitar. I could have called her a lot of things, but Segovia just sounded like a good cat name, so I went with Segovia. Our current cat doesn't have a name. So we just call her Mama Kitty. The reason she doesn't have a name is because when we lived in the apartment building, we weren't allowed to have pets. So I figured if she didn't have a name, she wasn't a pet. So it was a loophole. And then I said, oh, that's it. We'll call her Loophole. And I went, damn it. And then I had a name. So I couldn't even call her Loophole. So we just had her for 7, 8 years now. Yep. Kermit, no worries, man. Talk to you later. And any of you can watch the stream from the get-go. Yeah, Kelly's got a great voice. Oh, Bimo, you're back. Have you heard Joe King's Spiral Array? I don't know. Let me pull it up on YouTube, and then I'll check it out later, okay? And of course, this makes for great stream time here for me looking up stuff, Googling things. But what is it called? Or is it a song, or is it a pedal? No, Spiral Array. Joe King. I'm not seeing anything. Oh, no, there it is. Okay. All right. Well, it's only got 354 views. What is it? Well, I'm not going to click on it now in case it's something weird. Plus, I don't want to get taken down. Because I said that's what happened when I was playing that that Leaked Beaver track that I wrote. I was playing it through my speakers, and it got on the live stream, and then YouTube did a copyright infringement takedown thing and stopped muted my stream. And I was glad they did that. Like I said earlier in this broadcast, or in this podcast or whatever live stream, I said I was glad that the Universal's still protecting that. That tells me they may release it someday, which is good for me. And YouTube made it super easy for me to take that 2-minute segment of that 3-hour video. Now I'm getting up there 3 hours. I'm going to stop here in a minute, but that 3-hour live stream, they just cut out that 2 minutes, and they did it automatically, and then they remonetized it. So that's great. So they made it really easy to play by the rules. Oh, you want me to do a lesson on finger tapping? I don't really do finger tapping. I remember way back in the day, but before Van Halen was a day, I would do stuff like that, and everybody thought that was really cool. But as far as I've never really gotten into that. I like doing, like if I'm going to do stuff, like sometimes I'll do like, what was it? One thing, something I did. It's usually I'll do something to make it weird, where I'm tapping the same. Maybe some kind of weird thing. But as far as working it into my live soloing, it's just not a thing I do. I mean, those guys that play acoustic guitar and can tap and do the pounding and all that, it blows me away. But it's not that's almost a lifetime right there. I need another lifetime. Uncle Ted did it a long time. Yeah, I think, and it may be right around the time of Van Halen, Kid Charlemagne's solo that Larry Carlton did on Steely Dan's Katy Lied album. He ends the solo with a like that. And that's a trick. I mean, believe it or not, that actually has existed in classical guitar music for about 100 years. There are classical compositions that required you to actually do a finger tap. Also harmonics with your right hand. That's a big thing. I could do a lesson on harmonics. That would be cool. I think I did one a while ago, natural and artificial harmonics. But one of the things, there's all these natural harmonics are the ones that occur, all over the neck. And the math behind it is if you cut the string in half, you get a harmonic. If you cut the string in a third, you get another harmonic. If you cut it into fourths, you get another one. You cut it into fifths, you get another one. You cut it into sixths and sevenths, eighth. That's why it's called the first harmonic, second harmonic, third harmonic, fourth harmonic, fifth harmonic. And if I had like a Les Paul bridge pickup, a lot of distortion, you can actually hear harmonics, the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th harmonics. You can start to hear it. But harmonic will be a cool lesson to talk about. Now that I have the acoustic guitar in my hands, it's going to be time to sign off. But it's been a long time since it's been a while since we've done a live stream, and I will try to do them more often. But I also need to do more videos, so I'm going to do some videos, and I'm going to post them. I don't know. I mean, I just like to post them when I'm done with them. Someone said, "Oh, you should post once a week at the same time so people know when to expect it." And I went, "Yeah." But sometimes I have 3 or 4 videos I kind of want to post within a week because they're on the same subject. And then sometimes I go, like in this case, I think it's been 3 weeks since I posted a video. So I kind of want to post something, soon. So I'll probably post this video tonight or tomorrow that I did on a strumming video. I'm going to do one on finger exercise, just stretching and kind of massaging fingers stuff for us older players. And then I'm going to do, I've got, more, somebody said they really like the digging deeper into the chord thing. I will probably be doing that as well. do maybe minor chords or something like that. I got so many videos. The video I did today is actually a redo of a video I did a long time ago. And so I watched that video today to make sure I kind of see if there was a way that I taught that, because it's a hard thing to teach this, what I call the free range groove. So you'll see if I did a good job. But anyway, God bless you guys. Talk to you soon. Oh, so the free range groove is this. Peace out. End stream now. Yes.